number one, but followers of Christ, they make Jesus their number one. Living with hope affects your life. No longer are you trying to earn your way into eternity. No longer are you trying to desperately get the most out of life. Instead of fearing death as final, you anticipate it as a reward. Instead of helping others out of a convoluted sense of altruism, what you're doing is you're helping others because you're responding to opportunities that you have, responding to the love that you yourself have received from the Lord. And so as Christians, we serve others because we ourselves have been served by Jesus. Instead of desperately taking, Christians generously are giving. Christians live in order to please God. And do you know what pleases God? Hebrews chapter 11 tells us in verse 6, and without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. You want to know what pleases God? The first thing that pleases God is that you believe in him and that you believe in his rewards. A couple of chapters later, Hebrews 13, verse 16 says, and do not forget to do good and to share with who? To share with others. For with such sacrifices God is pleased. Do not forget to do good and share with others. For Christians, we live to please God. Christians live in order to please God, and God is pleased when we put others first. Paul doesn't want us to grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. Now, here's the problem. The problem is it is possible to have false hope. It's possible to have false hope. In fact, one character in Downton Abbey, some of you watch that TV show, one character in Downton Abbey says, harsh reality is always better than false hope. I thought that was an interesting quotation. It's possible to be ignorantly blissful about your eternal destination. It's possible to have false hope. I had false hope once. You might have had false hope too. I was driving home from an event in Virginia. This is when we lived in North Carolina. And I was about 2 hours in, and I had worked really hard because I had heard about the police officers in Virginia. And I was on a 4-lane road, and I had worked really hard at trying to stay under the speed limit because I knew that the police officers in Virginia had a reputation. And I was driving along on this 4-lane road, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I see the lights in the back of the rearview mirror. Do you understand? Some of you know what I'm talking about, right? And so there are the lights in the back mirror, and I pulled over, and the police officer, what did he ask me? Do you have any idea why I pulled you over? And in this case, I was like, sir, I'm sorry, I do not have an idea of why you pulled me over. And he said, you were doing 55 in a 35. Or I don't remember the exact number. Don't google because it wasn't a super speed or whatever it was. And I said, 35? When did it turn 35? Well, I didn't act like that because I was probably scared and afraid to get worse. But 55 and a 35, when did it turn 35? And he pointed to me and turned around, and a half mile back, it had switched because we had come into one of those little itty bitty towns where they didn't give you any warning, and all of a sudden the speed limit changes. And I was pretty frustrated. I'm not going to tell you what I said, but it may have not been very Christ-like. But I was driving through blissfully ignorant of the true speed limit, wasn't I? And it can be really easy to have false hope, to be blissfully ignorant about your eternal destination. But authentic Christian faith doesn't just show up in our attitude toward death, it shows up in our lifestyle as well. John 13:35 is one of my favorite verses, I think one of our whole congregation's favorite verses. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you do what? Love one another. Right? Authentic Christian faith is found in how you love one another. And how you love one another. It's not a selfish thing, it's a selfless thing. And so today is an opportunity to evaluate just what kind of hope you have. Is it the absent hope of a non-believer? hope that just doesn't even exist? Is it the false hope of a person who hasn't let the Word of God truly affect their lives? It's living blissfully ignorant of your eternal destination? Or is it the hope that's founded on Matthew chapter 28, verse 1 and following? After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of